Growing up, when I thought about school, I imagined it very differently to what it is and what it's been for years. I dreamt about a school system where students would create a personalized learning plan at the start of their education that would include required skills, interest areas, projects, competencies that have real-world application. This would obviously be guided by teachers, guidance counselors, or mentors, and the plan can be adjusted over time. The idea is that this system would center on autonomy. It would help develop self-awareness, leadership skills, and have students be motivated and inspired to learn. Most importantly, it would develop critical thinking skills, foster curiosity, and would allow for students to incorporate the learning styles that fit their needs. Although I was always able to adapt to my environment, whether I liked it or not, regardless of the teacher or the subject matter, I am fully aware that this is not the case for many people out there. And unfortunately, when this leads kids to believe that they are not capable of achieving certain things, or are not meant to be knowledgeable or skillful like this person or that person, and they grow up reinforcing that way of thinking. This, in my opinion, can have such adverse outcomes on their lives and society as a whole. Kinapplicable is meant to be the school I always envisioned growing up. It is meant to be adaptive, student-centered, and focused on lifelong learning. A shift away from the traditional, standardized approach where courses and subjects are predetermined by some central authority. There are multiple reasons why I wanted to create this channel. One, it was a way for me to keep myself accountable. A digital journal, I would say. I read this book a while back, and essentially, if there's one takeaway from this book, it's to think process, not product. A lot of us see the final products of different experts and artists, never, or at the very least, rarely, the process. With social media, however, it is noticeable that people take interest in day in the life or week in the life type of videos. Why? Because it shows you the small steps taken to get to where you and I want to be. So it becomes more achievable in that you can see people's progress, mistakes, setbacks, and can actually relate. If they can do it, why can't I? Kinapplicable is also a creative project on top of being an educational / self-improvement one. I've always had a knack of wanting to try different things and do many things at the same time. Read, train, draw, learn this, do that. Following what I've learned over the years, it's important to stay focused. In other words, there's so much you can do or hold on to at once. And now I found the perfect medium to incorporate different goals into one. This channel allows me to learn and be consistent, learn to draw, learn how to use Procreate, which I've wanted to do for both personal and professional use. Finally, the message I'd like to bring forward with this channel is that education is inherently creative because it involves the process of exploring, questioning, and discovering new ideas, while encouraging critical thinking and problem solving. Staying consistent with the theme of this video, I've chosen to focus on a specific group of muscles that play a key role in scapular movement, the upward rotators. To create the drawings, I chose to use geometric shapes for the bones, as they are simple and efficient to work with. Since the goal of this project is to inspire others to create their own compendium of knowledge, I kept the approach minimalistic. After all, anyone can draw a circle, square, or triangle. While I was tempted to aim for a more realistic style, I realized that would be impractical for the scope of this project, as it wouldn't be sustainable or easily reproducible. In this section, I start by sketching a simplified version of the cervical and thoracic spine, followed by the last couple of ribs. The trapezius and serratus anterior are the primary muscles involved in upward rotation of the scapula. As noted in the literature, the motions of the scapula are primarily produced by a balance of the forces between the traps and the serratus anterior. Next, I draw the origin and insertion points for each muscle. For the traps, the insertion is at the lateral third of the clavicle, the acromion, and the spine of the scapula. Its origin points are the external occipital protuberance, the ligamentum nuchae, which I chose not to include in the drawing, and the spinous processes of C7 to T12. Initially, I used different colors to distinguish the serratus anterior from the traps, but I later decided to stick with varying shades of the same color to maintain a clean and consistent look. The origin of the serratus anterior is located on the external surfaces of the upper 8 to 9 ribs, while its insertion is on the anterior surface of the medial border of the scapula. It's important to note that this drawing shows a posterior view, but the origin and insertion of the serratus anterior are anterior to the scapula. To keep my work organized, I made sure each step was drawn on a separate layer. This allows me to toggle them on and off as needed when finalizing or downloading the diagram. Now you see me drawing the traps. A quick reminder, the serratus anterior is located on the anterior side of the scapula. The planning of these diagrams is something I'll continue to refine, especially when I'm drawing more than one muscle for the same picture. I might even draw different perspectives as necessary to clarify the relationships between the different muscles. Finally, I draw the action lines of the upper traps in both the upper and lower serratus anterior. The upper traps and lower serratus anterior work synergistically to produce upward rotation of the scapula. Without the medial pull of the upper traps, the lateral action line of the upper serratus anterior would cause a lateral translation of the scapula, reducing the effectiveness of upward rotation. Interestingly, the lower serratus anterior is considered the prime mover of the scapula, while the traps act as the prime stabilizer. It's important to note that the serratus anterior plays a crucial role in stabilizing the inferior angle and medial border of the scapula against the thorax. Paralysis of this muscle can lead to scapular winging, a condition where the scapula protrudes abnormally. Additionally, reduced activity of the serratus anterior has been linked to shoulder impingement syndrome. So that completes the video for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.